the show this morning. Now then, Tom and I are very excited once again because we are joined here in the studio this morning by Claire and Adele from Her Story Theatre Company. A very good morning to you both.
Good morning to you too.
Morning. Hello, Gina. Hello, Tom.
Good morning. It's so good to speak to you both again. Those that might not know, I've actually worked with both of these women before in a previous life, and it's great to be able to talk to you about an exciting new venture for you in bringing women's stories to life. And well, you're going to recognise the name of this one, particularly if you travel a little bit. If I mention Hildar or Aneurin Bevan, there's another health board that shares a famous name, which is Betsi Cadwaladr. Adele, you've written about this, about a health board or the person behind the health board.
Yes,
Give us a bit of an overview.
Well, I came across Betsy's story and I read her autobiography, and I was absolutely bowled over. She is the most amazing woman. She's so inspirational. She went to the Crimean War, for those who don't know, when she was in her 60s. And at that time, she was already working as a nurse in London. She trained at Guy's Hospital, and she'd worked in service her whole life. She'd worked in various jobs, but including traveling on a ship with a captain and looking after the captain's wife and also child, and then she progressed to look after all the passengers on the ship and took care of their every need. And she also worked in households as a housekeeper and a cook. And then in her 60s, she saw this appeal for nurses to go to the Crimean War, and she decided she was going to go. And she was just amazing. She was from Bala in North Wales, and she was one of 16 children. So she came from a background of extreme poverty. But she decided to set off into the world when she was only 14 and just start work and traveled to Liverpool and then traveled all over the world. So yeah, she's absolutely amazing.
Wow. And what kind of era are we talking about here, Adele? This isn't like just
Yes,
jumping on a Greyhound bus and having a lovely
no,
time.
it isn't. No, she was born in 1789. So she was traveling around the early 1800s. So yeah, she was traveling by ship and by a lot by foot, by carriage and coaches. And yeah, it was just phenomenal that she managed to reach so many places in the world. And wherever she went, incidentally, she found Welsh speakers. And she was the daughter of a Calvinistic Methodist preacher, and so she would always go and try and find the Welsh chapels wherever she went in the world, whether that was Australia or absolutely places that you wouldn't think she'd be able to find people, but she found them, and they were there, and they would have conversations, and she would go for tea with them, and she was just absolutely phenomenal. She had such an adventurous spirit, and yeah, she was an amazing woman.
Funny that Adele mentions there about Methodist people of the cloth and in the chapel and whatnot. Claire, the last time we sat next to each other, you were portraying someone of the cloth in a very stern manner.
I was indeed. That was in Blackadder. Yes, that famous scene in Blackadder. That was great fun. And Betsi as well is great fun. I mean, it's just been incredible to be able to portray her. I mean, she traveled all around the world, as Adele was saying, but she didn't just do that conventionally. She was on elephants, she was on camels, she had some absolutely incredible adventures. And it's such a fun play to be doing and to be able to tell a really important story, because she lied about her age to go to the Crimea, because she pretended that she was a lot younger than she was. And when she was there, she didn't just nurse. She had some epic clashes with Florence Nightingale, who she didn't think was doing a good enough job and who wasn't actually nursing at the battlefront. So Betsi stood up to her and said, right, I'm going. And she actually went to the battlefield itself. Florence Nightingale was nursing basically 300 miles or so away from the Crimea. So it was like setting up a hospital in Cornwall if there was a war in Scotland. And Betsi said, no, I'm going to the Crimea. I'm going to go right there. And she nursed on the battlefront and changed the history of battlefront nursing, really.
Wow, I'm so glad you brought that. I'm so glad you brought that comparison up, because everyone, in inverted commas, remembers Florence Nightingale and the hygiene and everything else that she brought to it. But that's because she had that luxury of being away from a dirty battlefield. Whereas Betsi was she sounds like a bit of a go-getter. It's like, no, I'm going to be in it.
Yeah.
She certainly was. She was really feisty and forthright, and she didn't stand any nonsense. She didn't care. She stood up for Welsh people and for the working class people, and really campaigned as well for nurses to be paid, because nurses were really badly regarded in those days. And she was almost the first unionist for nurses. She spoke up on behalf of them, and she insisted on getting fair pay for the work that she did.
Yeah, I'm probably going to say this wrong, and I look at Gina whenever I think of this. But is there something like a phrase that good girls never change the world, or something along those lines? And it's true that there's a history of women that have gone on and changed the world, but then their stories get buried a little bit. And Adele, you've set this theatre company up to help highlight the stories of very influential women and Welsh women.
Yeah, and absolutely, that's what we want to do. That's our aim. And we thought we'd start with Betsi because it did seem like her story was buried, because I hadn't really heard of her and her work before, but of course I had heard of Florence Nightingale. And I thought, why is this? I was quite puzzled. So when I started really looking into it and reading all the biographies, I realized that it was, partly perhaps due to this clash, that in Betsi's lifetime, she only lived for a few years after after she'd been to the Crimea, and her book had like no reception and no recognition, and she in her lifetime had no recognition for the work that she'd done over there. They gave her a 1-year pension, and that was it. And when it ran out, she literally tragically died in poverty, and her work wasn't acknowledged at all. So I thought this was wrong, and I just wanted to bring her name back with this play. I wanted people to know what she's done and to tell her full story. So that's our aim. Yeah, as a company, we're absolutely delighted to be able to share it.
And you're bringing it to audiences all over Wales, and including here in Haverfordwest, where you're bringing it to the Merlin Theatre.
We are, we're absolutely delighted that the Merlin are having us on the 20th of June, which is next Thursday. It's fantastic to bring it down there. We'd like to tour it all over the place, and we just want as many people as possible to know about Betsi's story. So it's fantastic. We're really looking forward to coming down there. Yeah, definitely.
Gina.
Yeah, well, I'm thinking, we've all heard Betsi Cadwaladr. We've all heard that name, but I never knew that there was such an inspirational lady behind all of this. And it does sound a magnificent story as well. So definitely worth coming to the Merlin to hear all about the story.
Yeah, Adele, if people want to get tickets to go along to that next week tomorrow, how can they go about getting tickets? And where can they find more information in general?
Okay, well, if they'd like to come onto our website, that would be fantastic, which is herstorytheatrecompany.co.uk. Then you can book the tickets on there. It opens at 7:30 on Thursday, and the show lasts approximately 2 hours with an interval. So, and it's a lively story. We promise lots of fun, and we've had great reception from our South Wales audiences so far. So,
and you can also get tickets on the door.
Oh yes, you can get tickets on the door as well. Yeah. Yes,
amazing.
That's true. Yeah.
And then Claire, just back to you. You're playing this character, as we now know, for 2 hours of the interval. What's one of the highlight moments for you, or two of them? Because it's usually a contrast highlight. I've noticed whenever I go on stage. I like that bit, but I like that bit as well.
I love the fact, one of the exciting things is when she talks about all the men who proposed to her. One of whom was from Solva, actually. And yes,
Captain
he
Harris
tragically died before she was able to marry him. But when she goes through all the tales of the proposals and the hundreds of people in Australia who proposed to her, and she was fighting them off, it was very funny. I love that. And I love the quietness at the end when people realize how influential she was, and how sad it was that she died, but how amazing that her life and work still lives on. And that, we're able to bring it to people, and to hear the warmth from the audience. That's been a real highlight as well, to hear how much people have enjoyed it. People who would normally go to the theatre that's been absolutely fantastic. And we're really, really thrilled to be bringing it to the Merlin Theatre.
Oh my goodness, I can't wait. And then any exclusives for us? Adele, who are you writing about next?
Oh, I don't know yet. We've got many in the pipeline that we've got to talk about as a company and decide which which one we want to pick. Yeah, definitely.
Amazing.
Oh, and I forgot to mention there's a discount for NHS workers on our tickets as well, because we really wanted to. We really want lots of nurses and doctors and NHS workers to come and see the play. Yeah, so yeah.
Oh, fantastic. And for those that want to get tickets, remind us one more time, where can they get them from, Adele?
Yeah, so the website is www.herstorytheatrecompany.co.uk.
Claire, Adele, thank you so much. It's so good to catch up with you both again. And
lovely to see you, Tom and
lovely
Gina.
to see you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Tom and
thank
Gina.
you.
Thank you.
Enjoy the tour. We don't have a song from Betsi Cadwaladr, but we do have one by Bronwen Lewis called Home on the way for us. So we're going to keep it a little bit Welsh there. We've got traffic travel update with Link Taxis. Can't wait to hear how it goes on Thursday evening. Thank you so much for your time here this morning.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Folly Farm, sponsors of the breakfast.